So would I buy my first property in today's market? And let's say I had to like really put my best foot forward and all my resources to get my first property. The answer is yes. I would buy my first property now, even with rates being at 7%. I would do what I could to try to have the seller pay for a rate buy down, or see if there's different lenders that offer preferred rates. But I would do whatever I could to get in the game if I was renting. And again, if I was only putting 3.5% down and I was having to, really switch up my budget and resources, the first thing is I would just look at my budget. What could I cut and reprioritize? Stop going out to eat. Maybe get a different car. Get a really used car. I would really sacrifice and change up my budget so I could get in the game of real estate and owning real estate. And so I would put less down, or whatever I could down. I would sell what I could or sell what I have to make that work. And then I would know, in this situation, if you're only putting 3.5% down with a high interest rate, your monthly payment's going to be, higher than you would expect. And so I would make sure I could afford that. But before I did that, I would just cut everything that is unnecessary. I would eat at home as often as I could. I would still have fun, but maybe a little bit more controlled fun, so that I could set up myself and my family for success in the future. And most of the times it just takes that first property to get in. Like my wife and I, we bought our first property. It wasn't in the best part of town. It was a 2-bedroom, 800 square feet condo. Again, not in the best part of town. You probably wouldn't want to live there. But that property we bought over 10 years ago was able to help us over 10 years. We bought a couple other purchases, but it jumped us up to a single family home in a very expensive area. In just being in Orange County is a very expensive area. And if it wasn't for that first property where I was scrounging money to be able to purchase, we put a low down payment down, but we bought in that area because we could afford that payment. But we still had to prioritize what we were spending in our lifestyle. Sacrifice, it's completely worth it. And I would just make sure that your family, your spouse, who you're with is on board, because it's not fun to sacrifice, and especially if only one spouse wants to do that. So definitely get the family on board, because years to come you're going to be really happy. I would be really happy that I put all this attention and effort into it, versus your trade-off is just to continue renting. And with renting, even though that it has its place in the market, with renting, the issue is, one of the many issues is that you don't control what your rent payment is going to be year to year on that property. So if you don't want to move every year, if you want to stay somewhere for several years, you're just kind of subjective to whatever the landlord wants to raise the rent to. And they're not doing a bad job. They're seeing, well, the neighbor down the street just rented theirs for $400 or $500 more per month. So they're just following the market. But I see that if I put all this effort into getting my first property, even if it was today in a kind of weird time, it's going to set my family up for success. And I have more control over what I spend on my housing payment, knowing that 1/3 of my mortgage payment goes to paying off principal. And the last thing is, you can always, with taking on a higher rate, you can always refinance your loan in years to come. And have that monthly payment be a little bit more reasonable down the road. But yes, I would definitely buy my first property, even if it was in today's market.